Hi, Mom. How's it going? Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi, Mom. How's it going? Something department.
Internet.
An electronic communications network that connects computer networks and organizational computer facilities around the world.
Social media. Noun. Plural in form, but singular or plural in construction. Forms of electronic communication, such as websites for social networking, and microblogging through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos.
Good morning and welcome to the internets and welcome to the social media on the internets. This is my little tiny spot of social media on the internet. And I'm just popping in the beginning of this video to reintroduce myself. Hello, my lovely peaches. I am Kat, Love Dreaming Peach. This is my social media page where I talk about whatever I want to. And I usually am either in my messy room or outside, or maybe I'm running around my apartment doing things. So this comment somebody left about, oh, this is so, I guess I should be grateful you didn't go to the bathroom. This is so personal in your messy room while you're massaging. Who cares about your neck pain? Like, hello, let me reintroduce the internet to you and social media. This is my page. This is my personal little spot where I make videos doing whatever the heck I wants to do. Sometimes I massage myself, sometimes I massage my thoughts, sometimes I internet sleuth and I do deep dives into cases that interest me, or people or things or topics that interest me. So welcome to my page, my social media page on the internet. And yeah, just to remind you, when you join somebody's video, you are in their little private space. So some people do podcasts, some people do super professional looking backdrops with their headphones and they have guests and all that stuff. And other people just do other things, which what this is. My dad used to say when somebody calls the house, it's the same as them knocking on the door. You're not obligated to jump up and answer the door. You're not obligated to jump up and answer the phone. And this was back before there was even cell phones and things like that, you know? And he taught me, when somebody wants to reach out to you, you are not obligated to answer them immediately. You don't have to do that. And in that same vein of thoughts, you don't have to watch my video. Nobody is forcing you to be here. I always love when people are free to voice their opinion, as long as it's not rude or just there to bring somebody down. So you're allowed to say my video was too personal. You're correct. This is a personal video on a personal page about my personal thoughts, my personal opinion and my personal thoughts. So if you're interested in my personal thoughts about things that interest me personally and you want to join me here in my personal space at my home, which is small and messy, then I invite you to come with me into my home, into my video, into my messy ass little room where I'm going to talk about my thoughts about whatever, and in this case, Wendy Adelson. Okay, so I just wanted to say this at the beginning of the video because yes, people be doing stuff on the internets, and other people seem to forget that you have a right to do what you want to do on your free page in my messy apartment. Okay, on to the video. Merry Christmas, my lovely peaches. Merry Christmas, my lovely peaches. How are you? So you may have noticed that I put a bunch of new videos out regarding Wendy Adelson. Wendy with an I, because she lies. So there was a couple of notes that I notated as I was watching the video that I put out. Videos, because I had to break it into two because my laptop couldn't handle saving the whole thing. And that one was analyzing Wendy's lies. Analyzing Wendy's lies, creepy with an I. And there was part one where I analyzed the drive-by and the alibi and the claim that that was the only way she knew how to go, and that it was a cut through and a shortcut, which was a lie. It was not a cut. Well, it did cut. It did go that way, but it was longer. Taking Trescott, that is, to ABC Liquors was definitely the long way around. So I super analyzed the video, but it's a 5-hour interview, so there's a lot of things that I didn't analyze, but I wanted to make a couple of notes. So I wrote them down, and I'm just going to say them. So you kind of have to go back to the other video to know more what I'm talking about if you're interested. Okay. So something that stuck out to me, when she is making the phone call or about to make the phone call to her parents to tell them that Dan had been shot, she said, I really don't want to make this phone call because they're really emotional. And I thought that was really unusual and odd and bizarre. You don't want to make the phone call because they're really emotional, not because this is a tragic, horrible thing. So that was weird. Okay. Then when Wendy listened to the voicemail from Lisa Carey, who had said, I heard there was a shooting. In that video, I say Dan. She heard that Dan was shot in the voicemail, but no, she just heard that there was a shooting. So that's something that I'm really not clear about. I don't think that Detective Isim said to her when they picked her up from Mosaic, the restaurant, come with us, your husband was shot. From what I could gather, which was not completely clear, they said, you know, we need you to come with us. And when she was in the car, they said something about your husband, and she said, my ex-husband. But he said to her, I didn't want to get into it until we got here. Do you understand that? If he said to her something about Dan, but he didn't tell her why, and then she listened to the voicemail and heard there's a shooting on Trescott, assuming and stuff, for her to just assume it was Dan who was shot. And there were so many, just very, very odd to me. Okay, so then there was also the point where she can't go to the bathroom yet. She wants to go to the bathroom and they won't let her. And she's like, seriously? And he says to her, you understand what she's saying, right? And she says, I'm a suspect. And the reason why they didn't want her to go to the bathroom yet was because they wanted to check her hands for GSR, gunshot residue, and take her fingerprints and do all that stuff. And they didn't want her to wash her hands until, and that was why they didn't want her to go to the bathroom. All right, so going through my notes, what else did I want to say? Oh, well, I had pointed out how she told Detective Isim that the guy at the liquor store said, your eyes are so blue. And then she said that twice to him. And then there was a point where she was saying to Sarah, the victim advocate, like, look at when you're looking at my face, do you feel like we look alike? And I feel like she's like, look at my face. Look at my face, right? Like, she was so vain. And then she's like, oh, I must look really great. Like, who fucking cares about how you look right now? The man is dying. Okay, so Also, when she was talking about where should she go that night, and she said, I need my contact case. I just thought that was a little bit funny because those are colored contacts. Not that she doesn't need them to see, but it's just, to me, it says a lot about somebody's vanity when they have fake colored contacts and then they want to keep talking about how people talked about how nice their eyes are. So what? You paid for some colored contacts and now you're like trying to get attention on your eyes. And another reason why it strikes me as really odd that when she's still at the police station, her ex-husband is still dying. Her children are now with friends at their house. She's thinking about her safety and all this stuff and like where's she gonna go and what's she gonna need, and it just seems so odd to me that the number one thing she's concerned about, odd and unusual to me, that after saying she's afraid her and her children are at risk of them coming after her, her very next thing is, I need my contact case. You know, you never know what people are going to think about, what's going to make them, what's important to them. You know, your house is burning. What are you going to grab first? Your kids or your contact case? You know, I don't know. I just, again, these are analyzing things that are so weird that stuck out to me as odd. And that's one of them. That's the number one thing on her list is to get her contact case. Okay, also she talked about how my stomach really hurts. She said, I don't think I could do this all the time. So telling Sarah, the victim advocate, how hard her job was. She's saying her stomach really hurts. Yeah, I'm sure your stomach really hurts. Okay, imagine. I'm just imagining, how bad is your stomach going to hurt when you finally get arrested? Also, I thought this was so bizarre, which I did talk about in my videos, that she's offering up several times, like, oh, he would never do this. He wouldn't have done this. He had other plans. He couldn't have done this to himself. But yet, I did not hear her asking any questions like details of the shooting. Where was he shot? Like, yes, Detective Isim said he was shot at his home, but he didn't say where. Where was he shot? When was he shot? How was he shot? Why was he shot? Did they see anybody? Were there any witnesses? Are there any leads? Was anybody running away? Was anybody driving away? Was he robbed? Did he get into a kerfluffle? Was it a drive-by? You know, did it look like self-induced wound? Like, you know, she's telling the detective that he definitely wouldn't have done this to himself, but you never even asked anything about it. What was the reason? Like, she's talking about her brother and her parents being angry because they didn't like Danny and they thought he treated him bad. So she's offering up motive. She's offering up potential suspects, which was herself, her brother, her parents, and then her ex. Well, was kind of her ex. Okay, but it was just so utterly strange to me. He tells her that Danny was shot. She says how. He tells her, well, I need to establish where you were before we can get into any details. Then she goes on this fake ass crying tangent. It just seems so out of, you know, and then she never circled back to say, okay, so how was he shot? Who shot him? Where was he shot? What happened? Well, you know, what condition is he? Like, nothing. That's fucking odd. I also thought it was really bizarre that when she finally did call her mom, it really genuinely seemed scripted to me. It seemed like she knew exactly what she wanted to say and she wanted to stick to that script. And every time her mother kept interrupting her, which lasted for almost 35 seconds, which to me, when, like, the other day, my son got hurt. He hurt his arm. I'm so pissed. I was using that thing in my video talking about, oh, my son hurt his arm a few years ago and I have this thing that he had to use and it's just sitting there and he fucking hurt his arm again. And I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, I think he's okay. No, well, first I called his dad. That was the first person I called. And I said, I think he's okay, but he fell down and, you know, I think he's going to need to go to the urgent care, like when you come, like right now. And You know, like when something really urgent is happening, you cut that small talk off, you know. She's like, "Hi, Mom. How you doing?" And it was like her mother kept interrupting her. And so what I felt about it was that she really wanted to say what she wanted to say the way she wanted to say it. And she wanted to make sure she said it specifically. And it was a canned, planned script that she needed to stick to, not a genuine reaction about, "Oh my God, I cannot believe it. This is so awful. Mom, you know, my baby's daddy is about to die. This is horrific." So I'm still actually editing this video, and I see a couple of extremely interesting comments about what was Donna saying on her side of the phone call when Wendy called her. So this video is already 55 minutes, so I don't have a lot of space or time where I can add a huge analysis of that, but I do want to just record that and try to put it on loud and just have a clip of it in this video, and then maybe I can do another video more specifically about that. But I wanted to include it since I saw the comments, and I really appreciate that, and I'm also curious about it, and I'm making the video right now. So let me see what I can get. Sorry, there's an airplane going by. Oh, and somebody said something about it was rude. Somebody drove by. I live on a residential street where people are supposed to drive no more than 25 miles per hour. But we also live near an airport. You can hear the train go by sometimes. And I live in a very densely populated area, so that's why it's always loud. Okay, I'm finding the spot in the video where she calls them.
How old I am. I'm like, I'm old as dirt. Here you go. And so I hand it to him, and he's like, "You're not old." Okay. So anyway, we had like a little banter, and he was like, "Your eyes are so blue," and I was like, "Thank you." And then I left. So. Yeah.
Will you put his name underneath there, please?
This is so creepy.
Just print his name.
That looks like him as a student. I wonder if that's like.
Oh, will you sign it as you're saying that's who Jeff Lacoste is?
Do you want me to like?
Just sign your name and the date.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to confirm
Okay.
who this person is.
Yeah.
Call your photos.
Okay. I really don't want to make that call.
I know, but
I know. I just like.
you can wait if you want to.
No,
I feel like I was holding you up. So.
You were, and I
I was, okay.
No, I mean, I want them here. I don't want to tell them what happened and what's going on because they're very emotional.
Well.
And
they're not driving.
Well, that's the thing is like they're gonna now get in the car for 8 hours and come up and.
Because she already knew the plan.
Are they both very emotional? Is one more emotional?
My mom's more emotional. My dad's more of a straight shooter. Like, people must really know now because I just got a text from someone that said, "I know everyone's calling you right now, but could this really be happening?"
Yeah, tell them this. I think you're gonna be upset.
They're very angry with him, right? Like,
Mm.
well, this isn't like it's their son, but he's the father of my kids, and this is a very.
So, okay, I didn't catch this the other time. She doesn't want to tell them because they're angry. And also she said she was relieved that they were
I
surprised.
think you're gonna be upset.
They're very angry with him, right? Like,
I kept covering her face. Let me do it again.
I know you know, some people won't. Alright.
tell them this.
I think you're gonna be upset.
They're very angry with him, right? Like, well, this isn't like it's their son, but he's the father of my kids, and this is a very, part of my language, fucked up situation.
Don't pardon your language at all. I would, you know what? When next time I let them, first because you're upset, so let them know that I'm okay.
Yeah.
As in you're okay.
Well, that's why I
and
need to
then-
call them because my mom would be like, "What happened?" Like if the
Right.
police called, my mom would lose her shit.
Right, and that's we always try to get people there in person or get
Yeah.
so just say
All right, I am going to turn my volume way up, and then I'm going to try to edit down the loud part, but I want to be able to try to hear what Donna's saying.
Danny.
Already, I have to see my kids before they go to bed. I'm sure they're not going to want to go to bed without me, but like.
And I'm sure they're going to be hyped up a little bit because they're
Oh my god.
All right, I want to skip to where she gets to it.
Picturing like.
to help be strong for you.
So there's all this crying and stuff and this stress. She doesn't want to call. She doesn't want to call. But then the call itself is quite calm. Let's see. Get to it.
So you heard that, like
What I will tell you, the police station has everything.
Sorry, that is her cell phone making the. She says it looks like a mug shot. Jeff Lacoste. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna turn it up.
Hi Mom, how's it going?
Wait.
Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi Mom, how's it going?
Wait, right there.
Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi Mom, how's it going?
Something department. Hold on. I'm going to put it up to my ear. I can't get any louder. I don't think she's saying the police department.
Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi Mom, how's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need them if I can't reach them. Hi Mom, how's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house, in his house. I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay, so, and it's, it's evening, so if you want to come here tomorrow, I have a lot of people that'll, be here with me, and, we'll have a lot of support. So I want you to take your time and just be safe in getting here, but I'd like you to come when you can, okay? Okay, all right. I love you. I think Jane might, I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great. He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, but be careful, okay? Okay. 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 Love you too. Bye. Mom. You did awesome.
They tell her she did awesome. The mom calls back, and that's when she says she doesn't want to have to tell Charlie, so can they tell Charlie for her? So I'm going to play with the volume. I don't know what she said the very, very first thing. Something, it did sound like she said the word department, and I thought she said something about in the shower. So I don't know. I'm going to play with the volume, and I'm not going to make a super long thing about that in this video, but I'll add that here so we can at least analyze it. Well, let me finally get around to opening my curtain while I add that I know there are professional audio people who could take that recording and lower down all of the static and the loud, and just extract out what she's saying. And I think that's what they did with the calls. The FBI, part of why it took so long to get the evidence was because those calls, like in the restaurant, the Dolce Vita calls, were so bad that they needed to work on them professionally. And so maybe there are people out there who will, who can, who have, and you can probably find it somewhere. But this is my amateur version, amateur sleuthing of just making that part of the audio loud.
Hi, Mom. How's it going? Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Something department. So I did write it in a comment on that part of the call, but I wanted to just re-emphasize how bizarre it is, again, to me, that when she said, he said to Detective Isim, when you see DI, that's Detective Isim, he said to Wendy, Dan was shot in his home. That's pretty freaking weird, don't you think? He lives in a nice, affluent neighborhood, in a nice, fancy home, on a fancy, lovely, rural, more suburban area where there's not crime. It's not usual. People don't just get shot in their home. So the fact that she didn't say, what do you mean he was shot in his home? How? By who? What happened? Was there a break-in? Like, it's so bizarre to me that didn't spark 1,000 mazillion bazillion questions. And then the same with her mother.
And in his house.
In his house. No follow-up questions? Like, that is highly, incredibly top of Mount Everest and Mount Fuji, highly suspicious. Oh, and what do you think of the audio? I really couldn't make it out. Like, did she say something about the police station, or was it something or the police department? I don't know. What do you think? Then she said something about her mama bear. No, bitch, you were cold and fake. Hi, Mom. How's it going? No urgency. There was no panic in her voice. She was not sad. She was not scared. She was not traumatized or in shock. These are notes that I was taking as I was listening to her. It seemed cold, planned, pre-written. And where did all of this happen? In his house. So she, yes, he said to her he was shot at his house, but he didn't say where. So I just wanted to add some more notes that I had noted when I was watching the video that I made, and I wasn't going to be able to go back and add those edits into the actual video, considering I had to split it into 2 parts just to get it to save and upload anyway. So this is like the appendix part 3 for analyzing Wendy's lies, creepy with an I. And just to reiterate, which I already said, like in excessive detail, it was so ridiculous, the idea that that was the only liquor store that she could go to. The only way she knew how to get to a liquor store was to drive by her old house. If you watch that video, you'll see me actually going on Google Street View and driving the route. I drove Trescott, and then I drove down Centerfield to Benton, and it is absolutely longer to drive around Trescott. Even in the video I say it's like, oh, it's 1.3 or 1.4. It's like 1.5. So it takes longer. It's out of the way. So that was another thing that she said in the video, the police interrogation. I was gonna take a shower, but I ran out of time. You were gonna take a shower, but you ran out of time. Well, if you were going to take a shower and you ran out of time, you wouldn't run out of time if you went to the liquor store that was 5 minutes away from the restaurant where you were having lunch. So you needed to go have lunch 10 minutes down the road. You needed to go to the liquor store. You needed to meet your friends for lunch. And then you needed to get back in time so that you could pick your kids up from school. So you've got things to do and a schedule. And you're going to meet your friends at a restaurant, which according to her, they had at one point a standing Friday meeting where they would meet. So you know exactly where you're going. You've been going there regularly. It's 11 minutes away from where you live, where you've been living now for a year. There are literally 3 liquor stores 5 minutes away from where you're going, including the same store that you like, the ABC Liquors. Let's just say that's the store that you like. Okay, well, there's another one of those stores. So if that's the store you like the most, for whatever reason, there's one of those as well close. So if you're planning out your day and you're like, okay, I need to meet my girlfriends for lunch, I need to pick up this bottle of bourbon, I have X amount of time, I'm working, I gotta take a shower, she said she did laundry, and you don't take 2 minutes to say, okay, well, actually, if I go to the liquor store that's 5 minutes down the street from where I have for lunch, that saves me an entire hour. I can go take my shower and do what I need to do. But no, instead of taking a shower, I'm going to drive to a store that's way the hell down out of my way, 20 minutes out of the way, just to get there. And then I have to, be there for 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because I don't know anything, and I got to wait for the guy to tell me my eyes are blue, and then drive back. So that's another thing that makes no sense. You went to this store that's on Thomasville, and you went down Centerville because that's closer to where you live, but then you cut into this wraparound backwoods country road with a lot of trees, winding, going in and up and down and over with speed bumps. when you could have just gone boom, boom. If you really, for whatever reason, that's your favorite store, you have to go to it. You still went the longest way you could go instead of just the direct way. And that longer route to that much further store just happened to coincidentally take you right past the murder scene of your ex-husband, whose death benefited you above all and more than anyone in the world, financially, geographically, where you lived, even your job, how you parented your children, when you parented them, where you parented them, everything. Every single thing about your life improved by his demise. And you, Wendy with an I because you're filled with lies, just happened to have to buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon. And you just happened to have to go to the liquor store that was further from you and where you lived and where you needed to be, and was so much so that you couldn't even take a shower. Okay. And you know how to go from Thomasville down there, up Thomasville to the restaurant you were going to. That meant you had to drive past the liquor store that was 5 minutes away from the restaurant. So it's just like, it doesn't make sense. Like okay, and this is coming from me. I have car driving PTSD. I do not like to drive that much unless it's like going somewhere, like I'm driving to the store because I want to, but I do not like to drive on the highway. I hate driving on the highway. I have so much anxiety about driving on the highway that I will drive 25 minutes out of my way to go to a store that I could get to 20 minutes faster. I would drive longer just to avoid taking a highway. I will go on side streets and back roads to avoid the highway. But I also avoid going to the stores that are far away. Like, I tend to be local as much as possible. I like to go local. And everybody who knows me knows she does not like to get on the highway. If it's far, she ain't gonna drive. She's gonna get a ride. Okay? And maybe Wendy was like that. I'm not saying that she wasn't. And there are stores that are technically closer, but I would go to a further one just because I feel more comfortable on that road. Now, I don't have a car right now. My car is dead, and I haven't had a car since October. And I had a car for a year, and then there was 4 years where I didn't have a car because I had a very bad accident, and I do have PTSD with driving. So I am not saying that I don't have understanding and sympathy for somebody being nervous about driving. However, being nervous about driving doesn't mean that you're going to be stupid, ignorant, and refuse to go a better way. Like, that's not the point. The point isn't to just go one way and never know another way to go. And it's clear that that wasn't true. And another thing I pointed out in the video I made this morning, not only does she know other ways to go, she is saying these directions with the names of the streets and the directions. Oh, I was going north on Thomasville. I was taking Centerville to Benton over to Thomasville to ABC Liquors. I went up north to Thomasville to go to Mosaic. Like, she knows the names of the streets. She knows the directions, north, south. She knows which street gets to which street to get to which street. That's not the way somebody who doesn't know their way around talks about where they go. You know, like, she did say, oh, I don't know the name of the gas station. It's the one that's on the corner of the Goodwill. That was one thing that she said. Okay, but you can drive 20 minutes down the road and cut in and go this little, you know, sideways back thing where you used to live and pop out, and then you go to the store, and then you can go up Thomasville and go to the gas station, and you can do all these things. And, you know, like maybe there was never one single time, all the 8 years that she lived up in Tallahassee, that she actually drove back to Miami on her own. You know, Jeff Lacoste had said her parents infantilized her, and they would always come and drive up to get her and then drive down and stuff like that. And, you know, like I said, I understand what it's like to not want to drive far, to not want to drive on the highway, and to just not enjoy it. So I can relate to that. However, that still does not mean you're going to always, usually if you're somebody who doesn't like to drive a lot and you're not that comfortable on the road, you're going to want to find a closer place to go. You moved from where you lived with your husband 20 minutes away. You're going to want to find a more convenient, closer place to go to, because that's just common sense. That just makes sense. Why would you want to drive 45 minutes out of your way there and back to go someplace when now you live 17 minutes up the road? So anyway, Merry Christmas. Then there was the part where she may have just had the time wrong. She may have just been off. She may have just thought it was a little earlier than it was. When she said, I found out around 1 or 2, because it was 2:48 in the video when Detective Isim said Dan has been shot. So maybe she misspoke. That's not enough to send somebody to jail. However, I would be very curious. So obviously it happened a little bit before 1 or 2, but again, that's what I'm saying. When did that Lisa Carey leave that voicemail? What time was that voicemail? And did Wendy listen to it for the first time before that cop ride over from Mosaic Restaurant to the police station? Did she hear it before that? Did she find out through speaking with Donna or speaking with Charlie? So Charlie so-called been arguing with Katie McBanoel that day, and he wanted to talk to his sister about his argument with his girlfriend and get her womanly advice. But most likely there was also within there was like, oh yeah, by the way, they're headed over. Okay, you probably saw his Instagram post, King Tattoo, last night. That's why you're wearing the motherfucking owl shirt, because you saw it, bitch. We know that you saw it. We know. I don't know. We don't really know. I'm assuming, because that's too weird to me. Oh, okay. And then the one more thing I wanted to say is that in that I think it was in the longer version, part 1 of, so I made a long video, and then I ended up cutting it because it wouldn't save on my laptop, and I ended up cutting it pretty much where I had kind of cut it. Like, I started on Christmas Eve saying I'm going to add more clips, and I did add more clips. So that's where I just cut it. And so I don't remember if it was part 1 or part 2, but there was this one part where Wendy made this face. It was like, I can't even do it. It was so bad. It was like, or she stuck her lip out. And I was like, what the fuck kind of expression is that? And then I realized, I think it's trying to look sad. You know, like imagining how you might act super sad. So instead of having an actual face of shock, trauma, that's what I was saying. The phone call to her mother telling her, you have been sitting in this police station from 2:46, so you were probably picked up, let's guess, about 2:30. I'm going to guess it's about 15 to 20 minutes away because it was up there, and I'm not sure exactly where the police station is, but just, you know, maybe. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe when she said I found out around 1 or 2, she was talking about, well, when the cops came to get me, it was about 1 o'clock, or it was about 2 o'clock. So that aspect might be iffy, you know, what time was it when she found out? Was it 1 o'clock? Was it 2 o'clock? What time was he shot? Around 12 o'clock. So whatever time he was shot, well, according to what the Charlie was saying on the jail call, she drove by an hour later. So, and maybe she didn't take a shower because she was sitting at home. She was supposedly supposed to be working, but it sounded like she worked for about 20 minutes, if that, and then she was calling this guy, calling somebody else, calling a friend. You know, she was just fucking off, okay? So maybe she hadn't showered yet, and she was just anxious, so she's like calling people, and she's trying to do work and whatever, and then she gets the call. It happened. So she throws on some clothes, or she throws on an owl shirt. I don't know. Maybe that was a complete coincidence. I'm still kind of hung up on that detail, and because the devil is in the details, and people do some weird shit, you know. You'd think somebody would never do that, but they would do that because that's how fucking insidious and vindictive and sadistic people are. And that's just allegedly. That's my opinion. That's just my thoughts. This is just my unsolicited thoughts. So it's just all so specific and not seeming to be a weird coinky dinky that she's just perfectly timed to be poised to maybe see something, maybe see a body coming out of the house in a body bag, or, you know, like, she was morbid. She couldn't help herself, just like many, many people who commit crimes cannot help themselves from going to the crime scene, from observing other people's shock and horror, from observing the thing happening, from observing the police and the ambulance and all the activity and all the things. And also in her case, probably to receive confirmation that the wheels are in motion and it's time, you know, it's go time, and time to put on the performance of your lifetime. And then within a couple of days, you'll be out of here in your bright blue, teal, beautiful eyes. You will have fooled them, my darling, and you will be the princess of Miami. Like, sorry, I'm just and you know what, I was thinking as I was making the videos as well, that, like, how would I feel if, let's say, her children or Dan's parents or somebody who knew Dan and loved Dan, you know, how would I feel if they were to watch my videos? Well, I hope that they know that the reason that I'm interested in this is because I feel like she's a dangerous person who's done something really bad, and she has gotten away with it so far, and it seems like she still has quite a few people convinced of her innocence, or at the minimum convinced that she was smart enough and crafty enough and mastermindful enough to look stupid enough for people to actually think, oh, they did this on her behalf without her knowledge. She's just some innocent little, like, oh my God, they, like, killed my husband. I didn't even know. And, like, no, I don't believe in any way that she was an innocent victim, an innocent bystander. You know, I don't believe that she was in the dark. I think that she was vicious, cold, and psychopathic, And I believe that Jeff Lacasse had her quite figured out. And I do believe, just like he said, I think she did this. And I think she may actually have been cunning enough to make sure her brother's going down for this shit, and her mother and her father can go down too, but she will be damn sure that she's not going to go down. Although, I think she's going to have her day. She's going to face her consequences of her actions, because you'd have to be, in my opinion, very ignorant to believe that she's innocent. Or maybe you're just taken by her looks. You know, there's the Amber Heard quality. There's some archetype, I guess, of this, the femme fatale, right? The super good-looking, successful, you know, she had the money, she had the looks, she had the skinny, scrawny-ass little legs. And yet, you know, she doesn't have a conscience, it doesn't seem. I mean, to be able to do what she did to her children. When people do evil and cruel things, and in their mind it's in the name of love. Like, oh, I love you so much that I want to control you to the point that I'll literally have your own beloved parent annihilated. And I'll remove you from, you know, the other grandparent. Like, I will do evil things because I love you. Like, those are dangerous people. Scary and dangerous people. All right, well, Merry Christmas. She wants everybody to believe that she is an innocent, unwitting, unknowing beneficiary, the person who benefited the most in the most ways from this crime, from this horrific murder, from this person being taken from this world, taken from his loved ones, taken from his children and his parents and his students and his colleagues and his friends and everyone in this world who cared for Dan Markel. And that to believe, to be that narcissistic, that sadistic, that psychopathic, that immature and selfish, that unwilling to sacrifice anything for the greater good of others. And like I've said, you have the ability to be two-timing, backstabby, to cheat, to lie. You can brainwash people into thinking things about others that isn't even true. You had Jane McPherson over here thinking that sweet, innocent, super intelligent, highly discerning Jeff Lacasse was a murderer when he literally solved the murder. He solved that murder that you tried to frame him for, and you had Jane convinced. And you trying to have people up here thinking you're sitting here in the dark when you're not. I'm so curious. I'm so curious. What does Jane McPherson still think? What does she think now? What does Sarah, the victim advocate, think? What did she think at the time? What does she think now? Did she ever testify? I don't know. I would love to know. I am so curious about this trial, because I know that if and when Wendy is arrested, there will be a trial. And I can't wait to see what George Kappelman is going to pull out of her files. With her team, of course. And people who've committed crimes especially love to be super helpful and offer suspects. There was another thing she said that made me want to vomit when she said, I'm best when helpful. I'm best when helpful. So she was saying this to Sarah. She was saying this to Sarah, the victim advocate. I'm best when helpful, so what can I do to help? And that's when Sarah said, well, give me the names and numbers of his parents. But the more I'm thinking about what I watched, so, I made the video, I observed the video. Yes, I'm sitting in the dark, I don't care because it's late. I made the video, I watched the video, I did those analysis, I zoomed in and I looked at those blurry facial expressions, and I absolutely am convinced that she was smiling and then suppressing smiles in certain areas of the conversation, especially when he said, do you think somebody would do this or something like this for your benefit without your asking? Would you ever ask somebody to do this for you? What good does this serve? And she smiled. And then when she told the joke again, she smiled. And she prefaced the punchline with, he knew Danny didn't treat me well. And then there was the part when Detective Isim says to her, I think you're a straight shooter, and I think you would have told me already if you were involved, which I'm sure it's something he says to kind of, make people feel at ease and maybe make them confess if they will or whatever, because he's a pro. I'm sure you would have told me by now if you were involved. She straight the fuck up laughed. She laughed. It wasn't just like it was like, like she laughed. She laughed at that. She genuinely laughed at the idea. I allegedly am speculating that she was laughing at the idea that she would just tell him if she was involved. And then he was about to say something. It seemed like, well, let's just see, what. And she cut him off. So, okay, that was something that I didn't point out in that video. I did point out the fact that she laughed, but I did not point out that he says, I believe that if you were involved in this or something like this, you would have told me by now. And she laughs. That laugh then quickly changes into like a cry face. He's about to say something like, let's just see what happens, I think. And then she cuts him off, blurting, my ex-husband gave me a lot of grief. My ex-husband gave me a lot of grief. So he says to you, you think you would have told him by now.
This way, I think you're a straightforward person. And I think at this point, if you had anything to do with this, you'd have already told me.
Okay.
And you haven't. So my thing is that let's let the
My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief.
thing to do with this, you'd have person.
Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about. She laughs. Her face then crumples into a crying face. Then he's trying to move on, and she interrupts him with, my ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. Well, I feel like she's telling him right there, well, yeah, I had something to do with it because he caused me a lot of grief.
And I think at this point, if you had anything to do with this, you'd have already told me.
Okay.
And you haven't. So my thing is that let's let the
My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief.
I think at this, put it this way, I think you're a straightforward person. And I think at this point, if you had anything to do with this, you'd have already told me.
Okay.
And you haven't. So my thing is that let's let the
My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. A lot of grief. I would never do something like that.
So I feel like that was her way of saying I am involved. You just said to me that you think that if I was involved, that I would have told you by now. And I laugh, and then that laugh turns into a crying face, and then I blurt out, you just told me that you think I'm a straight shooter, and I would have told you if I was involved by now. My reaction is to laugh at that, openly laugh at that. Then that open laughter becomes a crying face. And then when he says, let's just see where, and then she blurts out, my ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. Well, that's not a confession of some sort? Because to me, he said, I think you would have told me if you were involved by now. Laughing, then cry face, then blurting out, my husband caused me a lot of grief. Well, that's kind of you telling him right there, well, you are involved. Because if he caused you a lot of grief, well, your brother talked about hiring a hitman, and Dan was shot by a hitman, and you benefited. And then when the detective says he thinks you would have told him, I'm sorry, I'm switching from me and I and you to him and her, you know, I'm kind of bouncing around, but because I can't believe it. It's hard to believe what you could see with your own eyes and then also understand and know that the reality is like, but here we are 10 years later and she's still walking around free. You know, it's, you know, there's still a chance that she'll get arrested and spend the rest of her days in jail, but it's like kind of like when I watch on Alita Legal Bites channel and she streams the Menendez trial, and I know, like, I'm watching that trial from 1993 or something, knowing that trial got a hung jury. They had a second trial which didn't allow any of the abuse in, and now here they are 30 years later sitting in jail still for a murder, which I believe, 2 murders that I genuinely believe that they were acting in self-defense because of a lifetime of horrific abuse. Okay? But I know that the outcome is that they're in their 50s now, and maybe they could get out and still have some chance. Okay, the point is, I'm saying it's like to see Wendy still walking around free, living her best life, being that Miami bitch, knowing that you can see her on her police interview on the internets, clearly lying. IMO, in my opinion, allegedly, speculation. I'm sure that they're going to wait until they get to some level in Donna's trial. And once they establish, just like with Charlie, they establish that motherfucker's guilty. Now, his established guilt is going to assist in establishing Donna's guilt. And then once they establish Donna's guilt, then they'll be able to establish Wendy's guilt. And I know it's just a matter of time. Like I said in the other video, I feel like if I were her, as crafty and motherfucker shit she is, well, it's time to take out those contacts or get another different color and change your haircut. Like, I'm not encouraging anybody to run away. I'm just saying, like, just like Jeffrey Lacasse said, there's a drum beat and it's letting you know something's coming, and I believe the day will come for her. All right, let's take the 2 seconds to find out. So there's the Tallahassee Police Station. Let's go to ABC Liquors, Benton Road. All right, so the one that was on Benton Road is 2 minutes away from where that she drove to. That was out of her way. She didn't have time to take a shower, but she had time to drive out of her way. And then there was the other store. I think that was the address. Yes, okay, so, okay. So this is the one where that was, let me zoom in just to make sure I'm correct about it, that's the one. This is the one that was pretty close to, let me just add. Okay, so just to show, this one is, it's 11 minutes or 14 minutes, depending on if you take Thomasville, it's just more direct, basically straight up. So this is where the police station is. This is where ABC Liquors is. However, she didn't go to that ABC Liquors up there. She went, so I'm just showing that the ABC Liquor that was 5 minutes away from where she was literally on the same street, Thomasville, that Mosaic restaurant was at. Okay, so the Publix was there. Let's add the Tallahassee police. I'm just doing this to show how long, and I'm going to take this ABC Liquors off because that's not where she was. So she wasn't at the Publix Liquors when she got picked up from the police, but she was at a restaurant that was quite close. Okay, so she was somewhere around here at a restaurant. Actually, one thing I was curious about was, what does it look like around here? Is it all convoluted with highways? Wait, hold on. Like I was saying earlier, there's some places that, you know, they might be, one place is 5 minutes further away than the other place, but it's so like yucky to drive it that I just prefer to go the other way, that I know or I'm more comfortable with. So I'm not saying that that is a completely unfeasible situation. It could be, you know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that given all the other things, you know, evidence, especially circumstantial evidence, it has to be stacked. You're not going to just say, oh my God, you drove by his house and that's the only little bit that you have to tell you. You know, I'm talking about stacking evidence upon evidence upon evidence. That's what I'm talking about. That it might be circumstantial, but you know what? It's certainly quite a lot of circumstantial things. So many things stacking upon, stacking upon, stacking upon. You know, that's what Charlie was saying. You can go ask 100,000 people if they believe that that's just a coincidence, that she had no other place she could have possibly gone. Y'all, come on. She had somewhere to be. Why is she saying she didn't even have time to take a shower? You had plenty of time to shower. Who doesn't take a shower to go to lunch with their girlfriends? Unless you're... Oh, there's the Publix. That's big, okay? That's easy to find and it's big. Look at that big ass. You could get there. Girl. Yeah. I'm not believing that you couldn't have gone here and saved yourself a half an hour, saved yourself 45 minutes or an hour and taken a shower, you stinky bitch. Let me just finish up. I just read this comment. Somebody said they should be grateful I didn't go to the bathroom. It feels so personal in my messy room. And what do they care about my neck pain while we want to see videos about Wendy? Okay, well, excuse me. You came into my house. You up here in my space. Not my space, but you're here on my channel. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I want to massage my neck. I want to talk about Wendy. I want to be here in my messy room. No, I'm not going to go back. You nasty. People are so absurd. Like, people are ridiculous. I'm up here making free content because I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And you're over here watching my video and you have the nerve to complain. Honey child, click off. Go somewhere else. You're damn right. This is my private video. It's not private. It's like public, but you know, I made it. It's me talking about what I think here in my space, in my room. You can see my eyes. It's dark and you don't care about my neck pain. So you're a pain in the neck. Look at this adorable. I don't really want to turn the light on because that's why I have it off because it's late. Look at this adorable cup that my sister gave me. Oh my God, it's the cutest. And actually right now there's some pink thing in here. It's very strong. It's pink kettle 1. All right. Merry Christmas. Good night. The audacity. There's a little shot of it. Okay, Merry Christmas. All right, that's the video. I'm in the dark again, even though it's the next day. I wanted to do one last clip and then share your thoughts. I love all the comments coming in and the good suggestions and the good points. And thank you so much for your gratitude and your interaction. Thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you to those who do appreciate my videos and my insights and my thoughts. And I look forward to seeing you soon. But let me show you one last thing. So what I was curious, since I looked at how long did the car ride from around Mosaic, the restaurant, to the Tallahassee Police Department take, I was curious how long would the ride from the Tallahassee Police Department take. See what it looks like. How long would it take if they pick her up and then they bring her here from, now I don't know where she's living now, and I think she was not exactly living at her parents' house at the time of the arrest of Donna. Okay, but this still gives a sense of, from the police department to West Palm Beach, where they lived, where Donna and Harvey lived. It says it's a 6.5 hour ride, 454 miles going that way. There's some tolls and stuff. And let's see what it looks like if I change it back to the regular. Okay, so that gives you a sense of probably where Donna had to go, from Coral Springs, Florida, up to Tallahassee, which is up there. And also, I'm curious, I wanted to see the ride from where Wendy had been living after the divorce. 3303 Aqua Widge Way, which is a tongue twister. And then the ride down to her parents' house in Coral Springs. It says it's 6.5 hours here, 6 hours, 55 minutes here. So it's about a 7-hour trip, give or take. And then if I zoom in a bit, you can see Fort Lauderdale is actually just a little bit below Coral Springs, which I did not know because I don't really know the geography of Florida. And this is where Charlie, can you see my little cursor go? This is where Charlie was living, here, Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale by the beach, beach town. All right, so let me move this. Okay, so, well, so you can see it's about a 7-hour trip. And actually, if I put her in the middle, so she's kind of going there and back and there again, that's 13 hours. It's almost 14 hours. So that's what she used to drive just about every other week, according to Jeff Lacoste. Every time she had her week off, she was going to spend time. Okay, so they are only, well, it says between 40 to 45 minutes apart. There's probably traffic and stuff. Okay, but so this gives a sense of where Donna and Harvey were living compared to Charlie at the time, which is about 45 minutes. Okay. So I don't know where exactly Charlie was living around here. So this is Fort Lauderdale, and you know, random spot that is, and oof, it is busy. So I just wanted to get a sense, the distance, the location of where they were at, and where she very well may end up. One of the next trips she might be taking could be back from somewhere down around here, wherever she's at, back up to the place that she hated. So much so, she despised this place, despite having friends, despite having a job, despite having a nice place to live, despite the fact that it was, in fact, quite a nice place to live. And there were, in fact, quite a lot of nice things that she was doing and could have done. And yes, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, she had parents willing and able, despite their age, to drive that far, that regularly, to have her there. And hey, it sucks. It sucks that you can't always get to do exactly what you want. But not getting to do exactly what you want, but live still in quite a nice place and have a nice relationship with your ex, or at least cordial, and just live life, you know, just accept life is not always what we want, but it's better than being behind bars because you thought you could get away with it because you thought, what, your fake ass contacts and the fact that, you know, you can play stupid even though you're not stupid. And like this is what I'm saying. Charlie said in those jail calls, you could try this trial 300 times. Maybe he thought because nobody in Tallahassee would ever believe it. But I don't think it's just Tallahassee, Charlie. And I think you could try this trial, and that there will be people who are going to say, you know what? Now that you mention it, it does stink like rotten eggs. And it does seem to be like you must have known, girlfriend, because your movements on that day are suspicious. Your duper's delight, facial expressions, odd police interview is suspicious. The fact that you benefited more than anyone of all is suspicious. And you are stinky like a fish, a stinky, suspicious fish. See you next time.